Donald Trump there, making over the Republican National Convention in his image. Trump doing away with the political tradition that the nominee stays on the sidelines during the opening days of the convention. He is keeping himself front and center, making a number of pop-up appearances on the opening day and during the primetime broadcast last night, including White House moments with freed U.S. hostages and another with frontline workers in the COVID-19 crisis. Trump was using that to push back at the Democrats, who are making what they call his failed pandemic response a major campaign issue.
We have delivered billions of dollars of equipment that governors were supposed to give, and in many cases, they didn't get. So the federal government had to help them, and all of the people that did this incredible work, they never got credit for it. But you understand where it came from. Thank you very much.
So, some there of what we saw on day and night one, continuing to bring you coverage and analysis of what we're watching in the RNC. Republican strategist Matt Terrill is with me this morning. He's a partner at Firehouse Strategies, the former chief of staff to Marco Rubio for president, the campaign 4 years ago, and he's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin this morning. Matt, welcome to our program.
Thanks, Heather. Appreciate the
Lots of questions. Well, I'm really anxious to hear your thoughts on night one, but let me get sort of a blanket overall. What did you think of how it began?
Well, look, just like the Democrat had some challenges last week with their convention, the Republican Party, the RNC, and Trump campaign really trying to lean in and utilize this new virtual convention, if you will. So all in all, I think the opportunity not only for traditional names like Senator Tim Scott and other household names coming out and telling their story and championing the president, but everyday Americans telling their stories as well was a bit different and serving as positive testimonials for the president. So all in all, I think a success and really the Trump campaign trying to champion their record in these next few weeks and months in the campaign.
Yes, just about 70 days to go until the big voting day. So I was just mentioning and introducing you, one analyst was talking that I was reading earlier this morning. This wasn't the Republican National Convention. It was the Trump National Convention. Popped up several times over the course of the day, made several addresses. There's no platform. It's just the president. What do you think of this all Trump all the time strategy, Matt?
Well, look, it's his party right now. When you're the nominee of the party or the incumbent president, it really is, frankly, your leadership. It's your principles, it's your values that have a big stamp on the party. That's not that uncommon in terms of previous Republican or even Democrat presidents in the past in terms of their party platforms. Really going forward, what's going to matter is the president's vision and future for the country. Does this platform resonate where voters are today, heading into these final weeks and months of this election? Does it map with their thinking, what they want for the next 4 years? The American people's platform, what they care about in this election, frankly, is what matters the most right now.
Based on the polls, the support that he has right now is not enough to win re-election. So this is all about broadening his appeal and reaching those still undecided voters. Based on what you saw, do you think the Republicans were able to do that, at least on night one?
Well, I think a lot of what we saw last night spoke to the president's base. If you're a Trump supporter out there, I think everything you heard last night, you agreed with and appreciated. The real test for this convention right now, what I think the RNC and the Trump campaign will be doing throughout the week here, is demonstrating that they can reach out and embrace independent or undecided voters. Really ensuring that their message doesn't just resonate with the base of the Trump campaign, but also those everyday, ordinary voters who may not be decided yet and are going to these polls with an open mind. So really, over the next few days here is playing to those voters as well and making sure your message resonates outside of your base of support as well.
Okay. Let's play a little bit of one of the excerpts of one of the speakers, one of the things that those independent voters would have heard. There was a lot of talk about how the tone of night one was to be uplifting and optimistic and light, but a lot of people are pointing to the messages of fear that were coming through. A socialist utopia was how one person described what will happen if Joe Biden is elected. And then Kimberly Guilfoyle seems to be getting a lot of talk this morning, as you'll know, Matt, Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend and also a senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Let's listen a little bit to the vision that she created from the podium last night.
They want to destroy this country and everything that we have fought for and hold dear. They want to steal your liberty, your freedom. They want to control what you see and think and believe so that they can control how you live. They want to enslave you to the weak, dependent, liberal, victim ideology to the point that you will not recognize this country or yourself.
So, Matt, you could understand how that might energize the base. But to that undecided voter, how does that broaden the appeal?
Well, look, it's kind of like the WWF, if you will, right? Everybody has their role to play at these conventions. Everyone's kind of playing to their own tune. So her job last night in Kimberly was going out and doing that, working to energize the base, throwing out a message that resonates with the base of Trump supporters. Hopefully, the RNC, for their sake, in the Trump campaign, will have other voices coming out this week that really resonate with those independent, undecided voters. We saw some of that already with those testimonials from everyday Americans that we saw last night. So I think more of that into this convention. Independent voices, even Democrats coming into this convention and talking about why they support this president. But ultimately, we have all the surrogates in the world do that. The one voice that matters in terms of driving home the Trump agenda to the American people is President Trump himself. He needs to be able to make that case. He can be a president for all Americans over the next 4 years.
President for all Americans. I mean, we do know that right at this juncture, the polls have him trailing nationally to Joe Biden and even in some what have been traditional Republican states. If he has to make that case, just what is your sense of how important these 4 days are for him and his reelection hopes?
Well, I think they're an opportunity. It's a unique opportunity for him to go out and lean into what is actually his strength. In many cases, President Trump is at his best when he's out in public doing rallies. You may not agree with everything he's saying at those rallies or those public speeches, but oftentimes it's where he's able to be most comfortable and confident, frankly, in getting his message out to the American people. So these next few days are going to be really the president and his team trying to take advantage of every moment of it. You've seen that already. Yesterday, he was in Charlotte speaking in public. They did the video from the White House in terms of that opportunity as well. Unlike Joe Biden last week doing just one speech, which was his nominating speech, which is a typical thing to do for a nominee, President Trump is doing a lot more speaking this week, lean into what he thinks his strength is, as being front and center in front of the action.
Tonight, one of the speakers who is delivering one of the most important addresses is the First Lady Melania Trump. What are you expecting that she will say, Matt, and what effect can she have on the outcome?
Sure. Well, I think she's going to talk about, her personal story and how she knows the president better than anybody. I would suspect it's going to be a speech more talking about empathy, about the need for empathy in America. I think it's going to be a speech that talks about her husband's vision in a way that she knows best, and talking about other elements of what this country needs going forward. Again, everyone's going to be playing their different role in this convention. Some will be on the attack. I doubt she will be in terms of Joe Biden's record. We saw some of that from Donald Trump Jr. last night. So everyone's going to play a different role, but his family members will be able to tell that different side of President Trump to the American people, while others will be on the attack. Again, ultimately, it's up to the president to drive home all of this. His speech will be what matters most this week.
So we will expect to see him again today and tonight on this day and night, too. Matt, I really appreciate your assessment of all of things. Thank you very much for joining the show.